I think being orthodox in any religion or being blind for any religion is some way harming the humanity.
It creates segregation, right? And segregation, anything that divides people, I think just creates hate.
How is your life in Portugal?
It's a different pace. It's more work to live. Here, it's you live to work. So you see people trying to, their house is almost in flames and they want to stay in the house. They want to die in that house because they identify their generations with that house. It's not to get emotionally involved. If you get emotionally involved, you're causing more to the problem. Right? If you get emotionally involved into a rescue situation, you're adding fuel to the fire.
Hello, Mike.
Hey.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. How's your day? How was your day?
It's been good. Busy.
Busy.
Yeah.
When was the last time you visited your country back?
It was last summer. Yeah, I went there for 2 weeks.
Are you liking Canada right now?
Not lately.
Not lately.
Not lately.
Why so?
It's not the country's fault. It's more politics. More politics. Yeah.
It's more about the party that's ruling.
Yeah. It's a country that could be in a lot better place, but it's still the lesser of all evils.
You're saying that because of the resources the country holds?
Resources, a lot of opportunities here, right? And a lot of cultures, a lot of different cultures. That's a great advantage, right? And yeah, exactly. The resources there's a lot of resources here, but it's just mismanaged, right?
So there's a lot of potential.
There's a lot of
but
potential.
It's not unused, untapped potential.
Yeah, or wasted potential. Yeah.
Portugal was very rich, I think, before, because I remember visiting Goa and Daman, and these were colonies of Portuguese people.
Yeah. Portugal, there was a time in, I think, 1500s, there was a treaty that was signed by the Pope called the Treaty of Tordesillas. The whole world was divided between Spain and Portugal.
So there were just two countries, basically, and all countries were colonies.
That's what the known world at the time, right? But that was a short period of time. All right.
I think India was under the mainly Muslim rule at that time because of the Mughal Empire.
Yeah. And this was only under the Catholic ruling, right? Because there were other cultures going on. There was a lot going on, right?
So, what is the main difference between Catholic and Orthodox?
I have no clue.
No. You're not that much into religion.
I'm not a religious person. No. I do like history, but religion is not something I like. I believe in God, but I don't really like to be tied down by a religion. Every religion has positive points, right? And tying down to one ideology is something that I don't identify with, right?
So you are a person that respects all ideology, but you're not connected to one.
No, like having the ruling of one, or having a righteous person saying you should live your life this way when they have their own faults, right?
But for that matter, there are books, there are holy books to lead us.
Yeah, but those holy books, they have many interpretations.
Oh yeah,
right?
Correct.
The books that we're reading now aren't the same that were written a long time ago. Right?
I think the languages are different. If I say in Indian holy books, they were written in Sanskrit, and after that in Avadi language. But today, I think Sanskrit very, very less. I think people who have done PhD in Sanskrit only know Sanskrit.
Yeah.
It's like Latin language.
Mm-hmm.
It's not used in common communication today.
Yeah.
And mostly Indians know Hindi, Urdu, English. So they have been translated or transcribed in these languages. And the person who translated made the word in their own way.
I think they
Translated with their own way.
transliterated.
Yep.
It's like,
Instead of translation.
yeah, they tried to put meaning into words that were in a different order, right? And could mean different things, right? Even the Bible was written in Hebrew, Greek, and, you know, and what we know now, the Bible as we know it now, isn't what was written before. And
I've heard it before.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people that had their own books that weren't included in the Bible.
What do you call that?
Like we all know, like there's Matthew, and there's all these different books that people that wrote about what happened, right? But other people that have written wasn't included at that time.
Okay.
Like Judas had a book. Judas had his own book, wasn't included in the Bible, right? Because that was because that would totally put a different spin to what we know now as Christianism or religion, as Christianity as we know
as a religion. Yeah,
it would totally give a different perspective, right?
I think being orthodox in any religion or being blind for any religion is some way harming the humanity. I feel so.
It creates segregation, right? And segregation, anything that divides people, I think just creates hate and war and like things that we know now, right? Things that could be driven towards whatever narrative it is, right? And
there is this famous poetry in India, Madhushala it's called. So it says that religion divides you, but clubs, bars, they bring you together.
Yeah, everyone can relate.
It's a very different ideology.
Yeah.
I remember being in Goa like 3 to 4 times, and there was this small castle where some, I think, rulers used to live from Portuguese. And these rulers, when I was there, these guides told me that the toilet there that was made, so these toilets were facing each other, like there were 4 seats in the toilet, right? And they were facing each other. And this guide told me that people, the rulers, they used to sit here, and they told they would get very good thoughts when they were sitting here, and their future plans used to be made in the washroom setting.
Yeah.
That was very funny for me that time. But are there many such places in Portugal, or what is this thing?
Not that I know of, but even in other, like in the Roman Empire, the emperors, they would congregate in it wasn't steam rooms. It was the baths, the hot baths, what they would call it. They would all congregate in a like a sauna kind of setting, right? So I can imagine something like that, right? Like,
but why so? Why do you think this?
Because there's no other distractions. Nothing else is happening in that area. Right?
But today we take phones there. We take, I think.
Now we can't go to the washroom without a phone, without scrolling or something like that. But before we had phones and internet and all this stuff, all these distractions, you would go to the washroom and have nothing else to distract you. You can't multitask, right? So all these thoughts come to your mind, right? As soon as you're done, you go wash your hands and you move on with your life, right? You do all your stuff, right? Distractions begin as soon as you open the washroom door. So
exactly.
I believe it's mostly like an area where nothing else was happening there. But
your life begins when you open the door.
Yeah.
You go out in the world.
Exactly. Why do you think that parents would like a household with many kids? The man goes into the washroom to have some peace and quiet.
Somewhere connected. Somewhere
connected, right? Because that's the area where it's like Switzerland. Nothing happens there.
Calm.
It's calm. It's neutral, right? So I can see that.
When did you come to Canada?
It's
been long?
I came in 2012, so it's been almost 11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
Long way.
So it's been a long way. The time flies when you get.
How was your life in Portugal?
It's a different pace. It's more work to live. Here, it's you live to work.
Okay.
Right? Here, if you go, for instance, in a weekday, right? And you go ask somebody, hey, let's go have a drink. And it's Wednesday. You say, well, are you nuts? I have to wake up early and go to work tomorrow. Back home, it's normally like, Wednesday, let's go have a coffee after dinner. You go meet at a bar at the beach, we'll go have an espresso or a beer or whatever. Totally normal. Right? It's like a more stress-free life. Right? Here, it's all go, hustle. You're always nonstop.
But I'm on a different run here.
Yeah.
I would say North America whole.
Yeah. It's a totally different speed of life. And years go by and you look back and what did I do at this time?
You don't realize that 10 years have passed.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Right? And you're building what? Nothing.
So you feel that the life there is much better?
It's better, but the
pace in Europe or Portugal is much better.
The lifestyle is more calm. Right? It's more enjoy the present. Unfortunately, there's not much enjoy the future. Here, it's more you could think towards future and opportunities and work towards something. There, it's like you have a job just to pay your bills and enjoy time with your friends and go to the beach and enjoy the present. And that's basically life there, right?
Shouldn't it be like enjoy the present and plan the future? Some country that way?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not much to look towards, right? I remember like when I was in high school, right? I had friends of mine going to engineering, architecture, right? And like 5-year degrees, and either they went to Australia or to Madrid or to Germany to work. And others have like architecture degrees and they're working in a grocery store. So there's no opportunities.
Is it connected like the Spanish culture and the culture of France? Is it connected some way to Portugal?
It's Spain is the more similar to Portugal because Portugal branched out of the Spanish condates, right? The Portuguese kingdom came out of the Spanish condates, right? So we have a more similar culture to Spain than any other.
Same as language. The language is similar.
And that language branched out of that. It's the more similar. But I have difficulty understanding Spanish from Spain, right? If I go to South America and they speak a bit slower, I can understand what they're saying.
No.
But if I go to Spain, I can't understand what they're saying. Like I could understand some words, but they have a lisp. Different? They have a lisp to their words. Right?
The dialect is different.
The way they say the words, right, is very different. Right? It's kind of like when a French person from France goes to Quebec and says, well, these people don't know how to speak French. Right? It's kind of the same thing, right? It's supposed to be French, but it's not French from French from France is from Quebec, right? It's different, right? So yeah, like our cultures are similar, but we have differences in the way we cook, for example, and the way we would dress at the time, right? Yeah.
What's something that you miss and you love in the Portugal culture?
Food. The pace of life is a lot calmer, right? Nature, like the fresh air, right?
What if we talk about the culture and traditions? How? What about traditions and cultures?
Traditions. There are some traditions, but it's more like when you go look in folklore, like a more ceremonial kind of traditions, not so ingrained in the day-to-day life of people.
Okay.
Right? Because religion isn't so impacted in day-to-day life of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in certain countries, like Catholic religion is very ingrained in the day-to-day life. Like they go to the Sunday Mass and they go to all these things.
Mm-hmm.
People don't care about those things anymore that much, right? They probably go to Mass maybe on Easter
Gatherings, yeah.
right? And in Christmas, it's more about the presents and the tree and all this stuff, and nobody even goes to the Mass anymore, right? So those traditions were more ingrained with religion, right? That isn't so much involved in people's lives anymore.
I think India is still more connected in traditional way. India is much more connected still.
Yeah.
What were you working as before coming to Canada in Portugal?
In Portugal, I was in the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
So National Guard.
Is that police?
It's national. It's a national defense system unit, right? So everything that has to do with national defense and a highway patrol, coast guards, all these things, right? I was in a rescue and search and rescue unit. So in the search and rescue unit, you would have a team for, let's say, hurricanes and earthquakes and stuff like that, right? I was in one that was the forest fires, right? So we would patrol on a truck with a tank, right? In a team of 4 or 5, and in that patrol, we would look around for any forest fires, right? From let's say May to October, right? And we would on the other days, like day on, off, we would go to the heliport. So we would be working with the helicopter, right? Where sometimes there's even TV shows about that kind of stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
When the team goes into the helicopter, and then they're dropped where the forest fire is. They take out the bucket, and then the helicopter takes off again. And then the leader of our team, or it could be a section or a team, right? Section was 5 people, team was 10. The leader would have the radios and direct where the helicopter would dump their water, right? And we would be all in a row on the line of fire, taking down the fire, right? So that was a lot of adrenaline that I liked it with that job, yeah.
Forest fires, are they like a major issue these days?
Yeah.
Because heard about it in Canada as well. A large forest fire was there recently. And one was there in South America, remember? Amazon.
Yeah.
On Amazon forest fire, yeah.
Oh, we had one in Calgary, I think, last year?
Yeah, there was in Calgary, there was in Quebec, There was one in South America, in Amazon forest.
So Portugal has a big forestation, and every year is a problem. Forest fires.
Is it connected to some conspiracies as well? What do you think? Because many people say that it's done that way. The forest fire actually artificially made so that the forests can be cleaned and factories can be made on that land. The things can be made.
There are a lot of conspiracies about it, and even when I was working there, we would hear a lot of these things that it would have to do with. These are all things that it's not facts. That the contracts that they would have with the helicopters and the planes, they would actually pay people to start fires to keep the contracts going.
Oh my!
And other people that didn't want to sell their land, they would have to sell their land after it's burned down because you can't really grow anything in the land anymore. So there's a lot of theories about it.
But they say where there is smoke, there is fire.
Yeah.
So if there are talks going on, if there are conspiracies, I'm not saying it may be 100% truth, but something somewhere can be true, right?
Yeah. I was from the south of Portugal. So over there we have a lot of eucalyptus. And eucalyptus is a very resinous kind of tree.
We have a lot of eucalyptus in India.
Yeah, it's very resinous. And it's,
near the roads, we have both side eucalyptus everywhere.
And it doesn't really produce any fruit. So it's not a tree that's very useful, right? And any smoke that you would throw out on the road could just light up a fire.
Yeah.
And start a fire. And
actually, eucalyptus was brought by foreigners to India. I've read about it a lot. This tree is useless. This I have heard.
Yeah.
It's a very tall tree. It's basically useless. There is maybe there is some uses, but I was known to this fact that it's mainly of no use.
Yeah,
it's just for fire. Just holding the land, just holding the soil for rain harvesting.
Eucalyptus leaves, they're good for medicinal stuff. Right? We would use for teas, right? Or for congestion. We would boil it in a like a bowl.
But they're not that important that we have to
to grow anything.
Grow it, yeah. Exactly. In India, if you see near the roads, everywhere you'll find eucalyptus. If you visit India,
yeah,
it's like on this side of the road and this side of the road, you'll find eucalyptus everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think everyone will relate to this thing. It's called Safeda.
Safeda ka ped. What does that mean?
I don't know, but that's the name they give.
Yeah,
that's the name I heard.
Yeah.
So that's eucalyptus.
Yeah, and it's strange because it's not a native tree from there.
Oh no, it's not from India.
Yeah. So
it was just brought by someone. I don't know.
Yeah. What a bright idea.
So these conspiracies go on, I think.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Because if there's no factual, there's always investigations. But if they can't find a factual reason for things, there will always be conspiracies for it.
But if someone can pay for forest fires, if someone can cause such a big damage to environment like forest fire, what is they can pay to the other agencies to get the news down and everything. Very possible.
Well, we see that here
in Canada.
Media can be controlled. All right.
Do you think Canadian media is controlled?
Oh, definitely. Well, it's funded by the government. All right.
Are we talking about global news or some because mainly
I'll just say for Canadian news, we saw that over COVID. All right, and the protests and
that's actually a bold statement because
nobody saw a Nazi flag, but somehow they got it on picture, but nobody there saw a Nazi flag. Right. So these things and the way they control the narrative, they like ask the questions that they want to ask, right? Not the hard questions, right? So
to the favorable candidates, of their own party or some funded parties, they usually ask questions that are way easier. They'll ask questions that are not relevant to the condition right now in the country, right? They'll just ask something. Okay, what do you? Yeah, just
Yeah.
some hypocrisy,
Yeah. Like a question that already comes with an answer in it, so it's easy just to brush it off, right?
Exactly. We have a lot of funded news channels in every country, I would feel. Like Al Jazeera is there, right? Like DW News is there. It's funded by government of German, I think.
Yeah.
German government. So then we have BBC, very famous.
Yeah.
South Asian, China Post. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like studies, scientific studies, right? Are you really trusting a scientific study that's funded by the company that profits from the result of that study?
Exactly.
Right? It's just the same thing, right? I mean, if an entity is funding some kind of media, right? They profit by the narrative that the media projects, right? So most of media are owned by the 2 or 3.
Are we talking about the research papers as well? The research papers that are made by big organizations, that are released by big organizations, I would say, big NGOs, non-profit organizations, but they are basically getting funding as donations from big companies. Like we all knew, I recently saw a podcast in that the person told that we all knew that walking is good for health, right? But we had no exact number, how much to walk, right? Then some research study came that you should walk 10,000 steps in a day. Now, how do you count that? For counting that, you need a watch, right?
Yeah.
You need some meter to count you. And then comes these tracking devices, which you are even putting on your wrist while sleeping, right? To sell these devices, what if these companies only funded the research?
Yeah.
Because we all knew that. I think the same thing. I'm just connecting the dots.
Well, we see in a global scale, like the market is divided by 3 big corporations, right? It's what, BlackRock, Vanguard, and the State something.
Allstate.
No, it's State something. I don't remember the name. And these companies own the big pharmaceutical companies and the big media companies.
I think they own everything.
Yeah.
If you go to any company, these companies own everything.
Yeah. So all these things are fueled by 3 major companies, 3 major institutions.
And what if all these 3 are also connected?
Most likely, right? Why is one big calamity, as soon as it dies off and people start not caring about it, a whole different one comes out. As soon as people don't care about it anymore, a whole different one comes up.
And there is a totally different narrative that comes with it, telling you what to do and what to buy and what not to buy.
Yeah, we've seen that in the past few years. I mean, it was either Black Lives Matter or COVID, then the Ukraine war, and then it's Israel-Palestine, and it's all different directions, right? That they're trying to strive people their attention,
not to focus on the main problem that is coming.
Yeah, which is in their own country.
Their own country,
right? Because they all it was COVID. Who profits from that? Pharmaceutical. War. Who profits from that? All the
arms manufacturers.
Yeah, right. And we're throwing money at foreign countries, while our country is going deeper and deeper and deeper into that. We're accepting more and more people into the country, and more people are living on the streets, right? But we're directing our attention to other countries and calamities that are happening everywhere else, but in our own country.
But I think every country is doing the same thing. In every country, the same thing is happening.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on their own country, they're focusing on all the countries, all the news. but not theirs.
Yeah, but our country has so much resources, and we're throwing it everywhere else, but in our own country.
I recently read something that said Canada has one of the largest oil reserves in the world, or even gold reserves in the world.
And we send it to the US, and we
refine it.
We buy it double the price.
Yeah, that's just like
can refine it here.
It's just like you are producing cotton here, making thread, then sending it to some other country. They are making a shirt out of it and selling you triple the price.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are we doing? Like, we can't have refineries here?
I think we have a lot of engineers. And we have untapped potential of educated people. A lot of them. And they're jobless, basically.
Yeah. It's just lobbies. And people, like, money is channeled everywhere else to fill everyone else's pocket. It's like a river, and everyone's digging their own
canals
into their land, right? Instead of just going straight to where it has to go, right?
And until I think it reaches the place, these canals take, I think, 90% of everything.
Yeah,
what it has.
Yeah, instead of just going directly to where it's needed, it's going everywhere else to fill everyone else's pockets.
Exactly.
Instead of going directly to where it has to go. Right.
Let's come back to the point of your life in Portugal.
Sure.
So you were working as fire rescue, right? Forest fire rescue team. I think it's a very emotional job, because when you see people's home burning out, and people going homeless, or people crying out because someone of their loved one has died or something happened. Do you have any moments to share?
Yeah. We've seen a lot of that. Of course, we're always, once we're in action in the they call it theater of action, like where the thing is happening, right? We're just pumped so much with adrenaline, and we're just trying to solve everything as fast as we can. But we're just seeing people's houses just burn in flames. Houses over there, it's not quite like here. Like over there, it's a house. It's for generations. Like my parents live in my grandparents' house.
Okay, same as India. It's like generational house. It's just
generational house. So they're emotionally attached to that actual house, right? So you see people trying to, their house is almost in flames, and they want to stay in the house. They want to die in that house, because they identify their generations with that house, right? Even if when it's burning in flames, right? And we have to try to pull everyone out while the fire's coming, right? And it's like total chaos.
I think it's a heartbreaking moment when you see this type of chaos around you.
It is, but after you see it so many times, you kind of get cold to it, but you have to react in a certain way, right? You can't get emotionally attached.
Is there any training that you guys get in your training period? Is there any training that you get for not to get emotional in such situations?
We have training into knowing what we have to do, right? It's kind of like the Karate Kid thing, wax on, wax off, right? You know what you have to do. You go in, you do what you have to do, and get out, right? You don't mess around and get involved. And
so you are taught not to get involved with anyone or anyone's feelings.
No, you take them out, and
that's your job.
That's your job, is to get people and less casualties, right? So your job is that, right? It's not to get emotionally involved. If you get emotionally involved, you're causing more to the problem, right? If you get emotionally involved into a rescue situation, you're adding fuel to the fire, right? Because they don't need you to add to their frustration and to their pain, right? They need you to get the job done, to get them out of there, even if they don't know it at the time, because they feel that pain in seeing everything that they've built or their past generations have built
burning down.
They need someone with an outside perspective say, no, you got to get out of here, right? And if you don't want to get out, we're going to pull you out, right? And if you're emotionally attached, you start getting involved into their pain, you don't get the job done. You have to be objective, right? And it's
more practical towards life.
You have to be practical, right? It's like police work, right? If you're going into a house and there's, let's say, domestic violence or something like that, you have to go by the book, right?
Yeah.
You can't get emotionally involved into what they're feeling. You have orders. Okay, you have this and this and this to do. You get it done. You can't get
the situation is X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You have to do A, B, C. That's it.
Yeah. There's no adding on to
by the book.
Yeah. There's no adding on more pain or more frustration to the people that are living that actual pain. Right?
Do you have any other your personal experience of evacuation at times?
Well, I was there for 3 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah. It was a lot of forest fires, and most of them were in fields without houses in them, right? But the times that there were, that's the most, because you see the most going on, right? But most of the times it was just in field, right? There was a fire, we would go there, and there would be no one there. We just have to take off the fire and come back, right? That was most of it, right?
But a lot of flora and fauna is lost, I'd say. In India, it happens that we'll have wild animals coming in the villages and towns because of the flora and fauna getting destroyed.
Yeah, you're seeing that less, right? Where we live, we would have like a wild boar and rabbits. Like there, you don't see a lot of wild fauna there, right? So that's not something we actually see.
And that's because of the tropical area that India is in.
Yeah,
because we see it.
Yeah. So it's more like drier fields, right? And where there would be like higher forestation, that would be way different, right? It's a different way of approaching the situation, right?
Okay. So, if you would allow us, let's touch down to the topics of life in Canada. Okay. So, anyone coming to Canada recently, in their initial days, they don't know how to manage their finances. They don't know anything about it. Actually, I have seen people taking a car within 2 months of arrival, and they don't even realize that they have a loan to pay. Even when they have not even started earning, they just think it's like $300 a month and it's fine, it'll go on. But they don't realize that it's not for 1 year, it's not for 6 months. It's going to be 6-7 years.
Yeah,
and you're bound to it. You cannot, release it simply.
Yeah,
there's not a problem like that. What do you say about it?
Yeah, there's like here, North America in general, everything's like fueled on debt. Right? So they easily give you a credit card for a recent immigrant. Oh, you have $10,000 line of credit, or there's even a bank that say that their slogan is "You're richer than you think."
I know the bank,
right? You're richer than you think. So what that means is you could get in a lot more debt than you think, right? So you don't bring anything, but you're richer than,
basically you're not richer than you think.
we can give you a lot more credit than you think, right? So they're already offering debt to people before they even start their life here, right? Like buying a car, a brand new car for a loan of 8 years, it's not a great idea as soon as you get into the country, right? Because you're most likely not going to make a huge paycheck, right? When you get here, you have to do most entry-level jobs
to start with and gain experience.
Canadian experience, what they call it.
Exactly. I don't know how it differs, because I have recently met some financial advisors, some great engineers, some people who are excellent in their fields, like law and professionals. And what I have learned is they have knowledge of like 10 to 20 years of their own field from their own country. But what is Canadian experience? I don't understand. An engineer, someone who is into IT, he knows how to build a website, right? Let's just take an example of a person who knows how to make a best website, an amazing working website. I think they are same in Canada, in India, in Nigeria.
It's total nonsense.
In Europe. But what is Canadian experience in that?
I have no clue. It's like, why do people come into this country? They're doctors, they're licensed doctors in their field. What?
I'm a licensed doctor in my field.
So what, human body here is different? We have our intestines in our brain, or like we have a different body?
They just want us to come here, give an exam.
Student debt. Right?
Actually, it should be way simple. You just come in the country, you give an exam, show them that you're worth, and you start working. But it's way different. First of all, you come, you legalize some stuff, then you wait for the exam, you give exam, then you wait for the other exam, you give another exam. They just elongate the process to that level that you think, okay, I'm done with this.
For you to give up.
Exactly.
Or start studying in your field here.
And take a student loan, or take money from your own country.
Start getting into that.
Exactly.
Right? And student loans aren't forgiven in bankruptcy. You could declare bankruptcy, but you have to pay that loan.
Of course.
Right? So everything feeds into getting into more debt. Right? What's called the American dream? Buying a house.
That dream, I think.
Yeah. Buying a house, right? Buying a car, right? These are all things that people have to get into debt for.
Is the American dream failing? Is the American dream
What is the American dream? It's
an illusion, I think. It's an illusion that is shown to people that your life will be like this. It's a screen, and your life will be like this. You'll have a car, you'll have nice roads, you'll be going on trips, but at what cost?
Have you seen the TV show Mad Men?
No, I'm not.
No. So it's about I think it takes place in the 60s and 70s of marketing companies in Madison Avenue, and they would create these pictures of what should be the ideal life in Pan American Airlines or Coca-Cola. All these companies, they would make these commercials.
What should be the ideal life?
Yeah, like a house with a white picket fence and a blonde wife carrying the cookies, and like putting subliminal messaging in people's brains that this is what your life should look like. Right? Owning a house, owning a new car, right? All this stuff that they're putting into people's minds that they have to have in order to be happy, right? And houses are basically a tool for the banks.
Recently, I was seeing this advertisement. It said, "How can you refuse this diamond necklace if you love your wife?" It was in a different language, but it said this thing.
Exactly.
How can you refuse this necklace if you love your wife? So basically, you say that if you cannot afford this necklace, you don't love your wife.
Yeah.
That means.
So if you can't buy their necklace, you don't love your wife. So they're the mediator of how you should feel towards your wife.
Exactly.
And the thing is, what's the sentiment of the wife going to be if you're not able to buy that?
Because she's saying,
you don't love me?
Because she's seeing the same advertisement.
Exactly. Right? So their life is dependent on the opinion of others.
How to escape that? How to escape that?
Is being self-aware, becoming self-aware. Sometimes we have to go through our own pains and learn through our own mistakes, right? To wake up and see my life doesn't depend on the opinion of other people. Happiness is what I think it is. It's not what other people think it is, right? Like now, for instance, how are people our age supposed to be able to buy a house? Right? If that's the ideal, is to have a home, right? Be a home buyer, a homeowner. That's the ideal. How is that possible with salaries that we have? Right?
Exactly.
But most people are chasing that, are looking towards buying a house. I will be happy when I'll be a homeowner, right? So you're going to be chasing something.
To show society something.
To show I've made it. I'm a homeowner, right?
I recently read this quote. It said, you are not what you think you are. You are not what people think you are. You are what you think people think you are. It's like a whole tongue twist thing. But when you realize, so it said very correctly that you are not what you think you are, right? You are not what people think you are, but you are what you think people think about you that you are. So it makes sense. We just need validation from society for our success.
But that's the wrong way of thinking, right?
But this is how world is working today.
Yeah.
All are seeking validation, I feel. From someone, from somewhere. The numbers that you have, the number of followers that you have, the number of views you get.
But the moment we realize that people don't care, other people don't care that you got a BMW, a brand new BMW, or you got a brand new house. Nobody cares. We're trying to make a life according to other people's opinions when other people are worried about their own life.
They don't have time to look at yours.
Yeah. Right? It's like, imagine you have a coffee stain on your shirt. You're the only person that actually noticed that coffee stain.
Exactly.
But you're conscious that you have that coffee stain on your shirt. And you don't go and do things, or you're going to cover yourself or not show yourself so much because you have that coffee stain. And nobody cares. Nobody even noticed that. Right?
Definitely.
Most of what we think happiness is, it's all an illusion that we're making in our mind. We're the ones that determine what happiness is.
What to do to come out of this matrix? I think I'm not wrong when I say it matrix.
It is because we create our own reality in a sense of the perspective we have towards things, right? We live in a real world, and we have information about things and a perception about things, right? And how we act is according to our perception of things.
Yeah.
Right? So if we can control our perception of things, we can control how we feel. Right? If we're on the driving on the street and we're gonna get pissed off every time someone passes a red light or cuts you off, you're going to ruin your own day because you got pissed off at that guy. Right? Instead of just saying, okay, God bless him.
That's a very valuable lesson to learn from.
Exactly. Right? You're only hurting yourself. Right? You're only hurting yourself by thinking negatively of whatever things happen in your life, right? So that goes on with everything else, right? Your perception of things.
So is it true if we say that the American dream that we have listened about is dying, or is an illusion, or it's not the reality?
It depends.
For someone who is living out of North America,
it depends on what you want, right? I mean, you could say that owning a home is the ideal situation. But for instance, if you own a home and you get an opportunity for your job somewhere else, that home is anchoring you, right? If you were renting, you could just, okay, tell the landlord, I'm staying another month and I'm leaving, right? You could just leave and you have no attachment.
Exactly.
Right? So would it be better to own a home at that time or no? Or rent?
Depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation, right? So there's good and bad in every situation, right? And you're the one who has to know where the priorities lie, right? Your perception is what's gonna determine.
What's your personal priority?
Exactly, right?
What do you think about all these schools right now teaching about things that are not valid in real life, or making the perception of things, I would say, let's say a school that is teaching about LGBTQ rights to a kid in kindergarten? That's like creating a perception even before the kid realizes what is happening in his life or her life. Right? It's like making them confused. Right now, every individual is getting confused one or the other way. Either they're very busy in paying off the loans, or in paying off their student debt, home debt, or like car loans. Either they are very busy in figuring out their own life, that I'm a he or she or they, who am I? Right? And when you create that much confusion in someone's mind when they are in kindergarten, when they are like in the age of 5, 6, 7 years, which future are we building?
We're just worrying about the wrong stuff. I mean, to children that they can't decide for themselves. They're supposed to decide on if they're a boy or a girl when they know what they were born with, right?
The age is 17, 18, 20, when they should realize what is on their own. They should realize what is happening with their life. And that time, if someone guides them, if they need the guidance, that's a way to approach. Or the correct way is to tell them in kindergarten and make them confused.
Yeah. I mean, they should stick to language, math, science, and not put more doubt into children's minds, right? Because we're seeing that children are getting the option of getting puberty blockers and all these things. So they're not able to get a driver's license or walk around with a gun or anything like that, but they can mutilate themselves for the rest of their life. Right? They're focusing on the wrong things. I think when we have easy times, we create our own problems. In tough times, we have to think about solutions. In easy times, we create our own problems.
So do you think this is the easy time?
I think this is the easy time.
And we are creating our own problems.
And we are creating our own problems because we don't have enough. Life is easy right now, right? We have access to more things, right? Access to more information, right? Access to more resources, right? We have an easier life now than people had just, 30 years ago, right? People were thinking, okay, there's wars going on, right? Or I don't know if I'm going to be able to bring food to the table, right?
So today, that's not the problem.
Yeah, that's not the problem, right? We don't have those problems in general, right? So we create these problems, right? We live in a privileged time according to resources, right? And information. So we create our own problems, basically.
Because of the easy time, we are creating our own different problems.
Yeah. Imagine if we had our ancestors for not even too long ago, let's say 40 years ago, they would come ahead of time to our time.
They would say it's changed completely.
And I was saying, there's not only two genders. Say, what?
Have you gone crazy? They would say.
This is basic biology.
Yeah.
You were born with one thing or the other. How is this even matter? Yeah, how is this actually an issue?
Exactly.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, we're creating problems out of thin air.
Thank you very much, Mike, for sharing your views. Thank you for coming. It was, again, very fruitful conversation with you.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot for coming again.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Great.